BSC team, the German national team, plays here. But soccer in general, very popular sport in Europe. Up to 75,000 seats here in the Olympic Stadium. If you're in town during a soccer or football game, definitely try to check out a game here at Olympic Stadium. This stadium was originally built in 1934 and 1936, but it's undergone several renovations to modernize. After all, the Berlin Olympics were in 1936. Now we're headed over here to the Reichstag, which is actually the German Parliament building. As you guys know, Berlin is the capital of Germany. And right next door is Bundestag, another government parliament building. So this is really a central area for governance. Originally opened in 1894, it was heavily damaged during World War II, then fully restored in 1999 with a modern glass dome architecture. So really a beautiful building. The reason it has a glass dome is because it represents transparency and openness within the government. And right next door is going to be the Holocaust Memorial. As you guys know, during World War II, this was one of the main cities for the Holocaust. So this is a memorial for those who were deceased during the Holocaust. Millions of people died. It is on 4.7 acres and it's concrete slabs laid out in a grid pattern. Now here we are at Checkpoint Charlie. This is a Cold War landmark. Obviously it gets its name from the phonetic alphabet Charlie. It was a border crossing between East and West. Now here we are at the Spree River. So you can do a boat tour. You can also walk along the river. But if you want to go up and down this river, you can on a river boat. There are so many different bridges here along the river here, with about 1,700 different bridges. That's actually more than Venice, Italy has. And they cross the rivers and the canals here. I would say the German engineers really like to get to work on these bridges, don't they? As you know, Germany is known for engineers, right? Now let's talk about riding a tram around the city here in Berlin. That's one of the best ways to get around as a light rail kind of transit. And now for some general facts about visiting Berlin. So the official language is German. So Guten Morgen, which means good morning. The currency here is the euro. Credit cards are widely accepted, but carrying cash is advisable. For the visa, it is part of the Schengen zone in the European Union, which allows most people from the US, UK, Canada, and Australia to visit visa-free for up to 90 days around the Schengen area of the EU. I would say 2 to 3 days is a good amount of time to explore Berlin for your very first time. Obviously, if you want to stay longer and immerse yourself in the lifestyle, then you stay as long as you really want. A lot of people really love Berlin, especially for the nightlife, but there's more to the city than the nightlife. Consider getting a day pass, maybe the day ticket or the Berlin welcome card, for maximizing your value as a tourist in the city. Some things to know about cultural etiquette. Recycling of trash in Berlin is very common, so do your best to recycle and return plastic bottles or even glass bottles. Quiet times, especially in residential areas, are between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. So if you're out partying and you're walking the streets after 10 p.m., make sure to keep it quiet as you're walking home out of respect for the community. Punctuality does matter. Germans are usually on time, even for social events. So if you say something in Germany to someone, make sure you mean it. People care about that. That's something to notice about the culture here. You don't just say something unless you mean it. Tap water is safe to drink, but that's up to you if you decide it is safe enough for you to drink. As far as shops go, they are mostly closed on Sundays, so keep that in mind. The weather, winters are very cold and gray. Summers are mild. It does get a
Probabilmente mi conoscete come Giovanni Ferrero, imprenditore e dirigente di una delle aziende più conosciute al mondo nel settore dei beni di consumo. Da molti anni il mio lavoro consiste nel creare, sviluppare e far crescere marchi internazionali di successo. Oggi è il vostro giorno fortunato. Non importa come siete arrivati su questa pagina. Ciò che conta è che siate qui. Questa pagina è riservata a sole 100 persone e voi fate parte di un gruppo ristretto che oggi ha l'opportunità di raggiungere l'indipendenza finanziaria e cambiare la propria vita. Solo chi è davvero determinato riuscirà ad avere successo. Dei 100 invitati, solo 50 coglieranno questa opportunità. E quando dico che può cambiare la vostra vita, non mi riferisco a poche migliaia di euro. Parlo di una somma che potrebbe permettervi di lasciare il vostro lavoro e costruire un futuro finanziario molto superiore ai vostri risparmi attuali. Non sono parole vuote. Non vi chiedo nulla. Il nostro progetto ha già dimostrato la sua efficacia. Promettere milioni da un giorno all'altro sarebbe una bugia, ma guadagnare 1.000 euro al giorno è una realtà. Immaginate 7.000 euro a settimana, oltre 30.000 euro al mese. Si tratta davvero di un'opportunità unica. Se lasciate questa pagina, perderete il vostro accesso. E soprattutto, non si tratta di uno schema piramidale né di una truffa. Si tratta di un sistema appositamente sviluppato con algoritmi unici basati sull'intelligenza artificiale, in grado di prevedere le oscillazioni del mercato con un livello di precisione straordinario. L'algoritmo lavora per voi. A voi non resta che osservare i risultati. Durante i nostri test, ogni partecipante ha guadagnato oltre 10.000 euro già nella prima settimana. Per voi è stato fissato un limite iniziale di 5.000 euro. Impressionante, vero? Non sono richieste competenze particolari. Se potete guardare questo video, il vostro dispositivo è perfettamente compatibile. Perché vi offriamo questa opportunità? È molto semplice. Apriamo il programma soltanto a 100 utenti selezionati casualmente e solo 50 di loro decidono realmente di iniziare. Successivamente l'accesso al programma costerà 1.000 euro al mese, ma oggi potete iniziare gratuitamente. In cambio vi chiediamo soltanto una breve testimonianza, affinché anche altre persone possano verificarne l'efficacia. Immaginate una vita senza preoccupazioni finanziarie, vacanze regolari, una casa di proprietà, nessun debito, la migliore istruzione per i vostri figli e la tranquillità di affrontare il futuro con fiducia. Ma il tempo è un fattore decisivo. Se aspettate troppo a lungo, finirete per essere tra quel 49% di persone che ha perso la propria occasione. Per iniziare, vi basta visitare il sito e inserire i vostri dati. Successivamente sarete contattati da un consulente personale che attiverà il vostro accesso. Da quel momento inizierà la vostra nuova vita. Non ve ne pentirete.
Them to sort of tell other customers, how do I bring in a consistent stream of customers? How do I make the right decisions to grow my business? How do I build a business that doesn't crumble under its own weight? But one of the big ones that I was really struggling when I first started out was, how am I going to be able to pay the bills at the end of this month? And many more questions, one of them being, what if I fail? And it's not a bad question. I mean, it's not a great question, but it's a fair question, because 20% of businesses fail in their very first year. And 50% of businesses fail in the first 5 years, and most fail within 10 years. The majority of businesses actually fail. 97% of business owners are not really running their businesses in the right way. How do I pick out that statistic? Well, only 3% of businesses get to 7 figures plus. Now, you might say to me, I don't want to get my business to 7 figures plus. That's great. But if you wanted to, why wouldn't you? If it was actually going to give you that time freedom, if it was actually going to give you that financial freedom. That's why you got into business for in the first place, and be able to have the time and work on the things that you really want to work on. So if you want to be able to get your business ultimately to 7 figures plus so that you can have that financial freedom, only 3% of businesses get that far. And I know that you're early on in this stage, but what we want you to do is you want to be able to have that right solid foundations right at the get-go so that you can build your business solidly to that 6-figure mark and beyond, and get you to 7 figures and who knows where else. But please, I don't want you to become a statistic. I've suffered through growing businesses in the past, and I know how painful it is to have a business absolutely fold. But what's the reason behind most of these businesses actually failing? You see in the slide here, running a business in your zone of genius is completely different to being awesome in your expertise. You're great at what you do, but running a business is completely different to your expertise. Let's take that further, is completely different, not just to your expertise, but it's a completely different discipline altogether. And it's not your fault, because what's happened inside most education systems that's built out back from the factory age of the Industrial Revolution, it was there to dish out factory workers, and it teaches us not to take risks and not to lead and not to own businesses, but actually to clock in and clock out. And it teaches us to follow and fear failure. Don't fail your exams, because if you fail, you're not going to get a good job. Don't do this, otherwise you're going to get fired. And we've been conditioned to fear that failure, and running a business is completely different to that. It's about taking risks. It's about leading. It's about having failures, or small controlled failures every once in a while. And it goes against everything that we've been taught as we've been brought up. But also, I wanted to let you know that it's not easy. This is not going to be a get-rich-quick scheme masterclass. If that is what you've come for, please, this is not for you. you, go somewhere else. This is not going to be easy. However, there are proven frameworks that if you follow and you stick to, it will improve your chances of success dramatically. And that's what we're going to try and get you to do here today. So this is for you if you really have an amazing business idea, or if you're in the early stages of your business, or your business is not getting off the ground, as we've mentioned before. If you really want to know how to structure and grow your business with the right foundations, you want to be able to get ahead of the game, you want to be able to lay down a business plan that's rock solid, or you just simply want the confidence that your idea will actually work and is scalable. But like I was just mentioning earlier before, this is not for you if you're just a passive dreamer and you're not willing to put in the work. This is not going to be easy, and I'm not going to be like all of those other masterclasses or all of those other gurus who are going to sit there. By the way, I'm not a guru, but I'm just going to say I'm not going to be like all of those other gurus who are going to sit there and say, hey, here are 3 trademark simple steps for you to do. If you follow these, you're going to be great. Rubbish. I'm sorry. It doesn't work. Having a business that you want to scale needs to have several different key things and several different solid foundations so that you can actually build something that is sustainable, that is profitable, that can actually serve you, and not you sitting there running like crazy serving it. And that's not what we want. So if you are here and you're resistant to change, this masterclass is also not for you. If you're looking for overnight hacks and quick fixes, please click away. Now, if your business is making 7 figures plus in revenue, congratulations, by the way. If it is, this is not targeted specifically for you, but do stick around because some of those foundations in your business might be missing. I do have another masterclass up here. I'll put the link somewhere on this channel that you can go and watch if you've got 7 figures plus and you really want to scale your business beyond that. That masterclass is going to be for you. But do stick around. Like I said, it's always good to make sure that you
Are you serious?
La monetina l'abbiamo sempre lanciata in aria per prendere delle decisioni, ma da oggi, anche a partire da €1, si può iniziare a creare ricchezza. Come, direte voi? Beh, semplice. Grazie a Trade Republic, la più grande piattaforma di risparmio in Europa che ti permette di accedere ai mercati finanziari in modo semplice e sicuro. L'applicazione è facile da usare, puoi aprire un conto in meno di 5 minuti e poi puoi sbizzarrirti. Puoi investire facilmente, in sicurezza, in migliaia di azioni ETF a partire da €1, diversificando il tuo portafoglio anche con budget ridotti. Puoi configurare dei piani d'accumulo gratuiti, scegliendo importo e frequenza degli investimenti, ma non è finita qui. Perché con la tua Mirror Card, oltre ad usarla come simpatico specchio, ricevi l'1% di saveback sui tuoi pagamenti con carta, che va direttamente ad alimentare il tuo piano d'accumulo. Mentre quando non spendi o non investi, la tua liquidità, quindi i soldi che hai sul conto, generano il 3% lordo annuo, accreditato mensilmente. E, come se non bastasse, ultima chicca, Trade Republic ti dà la massima flessibilità. Se vuoi prelevare, puoi farlo in qualsiasi momento. E ora cosa stai aspettando? Unisciti anche tu a oltre 10 milioni di persone che in Europa hanno già scelto la banca del futuro e fai crescere anche tu i tuoi risparmi. Scarica l'app di Trade Republic.
La maggior parte delle persone sceglie le azioni d'istinto, un titolo di giornale, qualcuno di cui più o meno si fidano, e poi c'è eToro. 7.000 azioni, commissioni a partire da €1, milioni di investitori con portafogli pubblici, track record verificati. Non è quello che i grandi investitori dicono, ma quello che fanno davvero. eToro.
Guten Abend, Sir. Madame, willkommen im Le Telepathie. Waren Sie schon einmal bei uns?
Nein, wir sind zum ersten Mal hier.
Wir haben Unglaubliches gehört.
Die Gerüchte, die Sie gehört haben, Madame, sind völlig berechtigt.
Also, können wir die Karte sehen?
Ich befürchte, es gibt keine Karten.
Gibt es heute?
Und kreieren ein kulinarisches... Sehen Sie, jedes davon ist auf die tiefste